Thanks for your support as a channel member, keeping it simple. Today we play against possibly the greatest named football team in the history of the world, Bishop's Cleeve. Someone's going to need to tell me, is that a place? I need information on Bishop's Cleeve. Hello and welcome to part 26 of the Bourne Legacy. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we play against Bishop's Cleeve and Yeading in the Bet Victor Southern Division. If you're wondering, like I was, where #United are, they're, despite being far more southern than we are, they're in the Bet Victor Premier Division Central, along with lots of other teams much closer to where we are. Newark Flowserve, for example, still doing well in that division. Peterborough Sports knocking around in this division. This feels like the division we should be in, and they should be in our division. But apparently that's not the case. This is the Bet Victor Northern Premier Division. So between those three divisions... Oh, is there an Isthmian? So there's four, is there? What? So there's... So these are all feeding into, this is all different from when we did this with home. So feeding into the Conference North and South, there's the Isthmian Premier, the Northern Premier, the Premier Division Central, and the Premier Division South. So how many teams come down? 6 teams getting relegated. So from these 4 divisions, the 4 champions all go up. And then is this where that super playoff I heard about happens? Because otherwise the maths doesn't work. Either way, we just need to make sure we win this division, which we should. We're 6 points clear with 3 games in hand over Truro. We are level on games played with Bishop's Cleeve, though, who we played today. This is how we've been doing since you were last with me. So things going really rather nicely. Obviously, we have nothing to play for now, apart from promotion with the FA Cup out of the way. We do have these other 2 cups as well. I mean, this would be a nice year to win the FA Trophy. We can really focus on that. The Southern League Cup. It's going to be our only time, hopefully, to play in it. Transfer-wise, there's not been much happening since you were last here. We've not let anyone else go, which is good. Lee has turned down about 3 moves to the Football League, which is lovely. The only player we brought in is Shamar Moore, who, yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's ready, really. Why am I looking at staff? That's not what I want to look at. This is what we want to have a look at. So this is the team that we're playing against Bishop's Cleeve. Kennedy wants to be... I don't want a no-nonsense centre-back in my team. McClelland is suspended, which is frustrating. McClelland is one of our top scorers this year. He is lethal, both in the air from set pieces. He's only 6'2", but very good in the air from corners. But he also hits a beautiful free kick. And has scored a couple of free kicks for us this year as well. So a proper goal-scoring centre-back, just the way I like it. But we're going with Roberts in goal, a back four of Kiezu, Kennedy, Wiggett and Lone. I think this is Logan. I think this is Kennedy's debut. It is Kennedy's debut. Cundall and Wright in midfield, Longelo and Jones supporting Dodds and Morton up front. This is why it's even more lovely that good old Lee turned down all those moves into the Football League, because he's not even a regular starter for us anymore. Yes, he was brilliant last year, but this year we've got somebody who's even better in the shape of Reece Jones, who has been in absolutely sensational form on that right-hand side, to the point where Lee's not even on the bench anymore, but he's still turning down moves to bigger clubs, which I think makes him a hero who probably deserves to get his spot back in the team. The reason I dropped him initially is because he was under offer from so many clubs, and I thought, well, he's going, we may as well play the new guy, but I guess he decided not to go. Right, I expect nothing but a win against Bishop's Cleeve. I still think that it's still the greatest name in the history of football teams, isn't it? What is it? Is it a place? Is it the name of a pub? Do we still have pub teams at this level? Probably not. We're one division below the playable leagues at the start. I know they've all got mixed up a little bit because of all these seasons of promotions and relegations with these lower league teams in, which is why we might be in a situation in this save where not only us ending up in the Football League, but realistically, I would imagine #United are probably going to end up in the league because they have a good reputation to charge them through the leagues. So they're going to be able to attract lots of good players as well. Anyone who's had any kind of big financial investment is probably going to make it there. We're going to get quite a lot of unusual teams playing at quite unusual levels, which of course means there's going to be some giants falling throughout this save, which is always fun when you see a big famous team become non-playable in the database. I remember how much fun it was when we saw it happen to Bolton 3 or 4 years ago, and they ended up resurfacing, and we did the Bolton battle save after non-league to legend, because the year non-league to legend, those of you who weren't around at the time, non-league to legend ended as Bolton got promoted back into the Conference North, and that looked like too much of an opportunity to turn down. So we took them back up through the leagues off the back of that save, and it was awesome. So I am keeping my eye out on anything like that might be happening. To be fair, it's very unlikely this save will finish early enough in the year for me to spin anything off the back of it in that way, because as we learnt from home, these one club saves, you're looking at a good 200 episodes to get to an end point. Even though we've had a lot of success early on, without this early success and without these consecutive promotions early on, which we did the same thing with home as well, it's actually pretty hard not to get promoted playing in these leagues. But even with this early success and consecutive promotions, I would suggest we're still probably a good 20 years away from being a big club who could potentially win the Champions League. Maybe more. Who knows? How many seasons did we play with home? Must have been close to 25 seasons to get us to that point. Logan now. Cross comes in. Dodds is there. I saw the net bulge. How many times? How many times in FM20 am I going to see a net bulge and a goal not be given? People saying, well, Kevin, it hit the post. That's why the net moved. Nets don't move like that if you hit the post. That was a bulge. That wasn't the net did. Nobody said, oh, look, the net wobbled. We all declared that the net had bulged, and that only happens when a football hits it. Right, we need to make some changes. We're going to change both strikers because the two that have been on there have been rubbish. Jarvis hasn't really had a fair crack of the whip yet, despite in his one start that he's made, he scored a hat-trick, and he's also scored again off the bench. Jarvis might actually end up being the one that we play fairly regular. I think we've got 4 strikers in the shape of McGuinness, Jarvis, Morton and Dodds. I don't really know who my partnership is out of them yet. And I think it is showing. We need to go a bit more attacking here. I've just realised we haven't done that yet. I really want to bring on a winger. If only Lee was on the bench. As it is, we'll bring Warrington on in midfield. We'll swap those two over into their more suited positions. And we're going to finish the game off with 10 minutes of passion. Come on. How can we're so good sometimes, and then sometimes it just doesn't click for us. Hopefully we've got a last minute winner in us here. It's Jarvis, plays it back to Kiezu, who plays it. That's a lovely little low cross, a cheeky little low cross, if you will. The only problem is McGuinness doesn't really understand unless you aim for his head. So unfortunately he wasn't really alert to the cheeky little low cross. It would have been nicer for it to be aimed at Jarvis, but here's McGuinness out wide. Fine. Oh, I thought he had found Jarvis. That cross was a beauty. Kiezu again trying to get something going. We've had some good chances in these dying moments of the game, but it's Bishop's Cleeve attacking again, and they're going to go and score a winner, aren't they? Because we don't seem to be able to get the ball back all of a sudden. Cross comes in, Wiggett heads to Cundle to Jones, and now we have got time, and it's McGuinness through on through, 1-on-1, regardless, whatever you call it, he scored a goal, a good old through and through. It's 1-0 to Bourne in the 90th minute, and the 103 Bourne fans here to see it are absolutely ecstatic. Look at them. So happy. That's a very tidy finish. It was unfair of me to say he can't do anything unless it's at his head, because that was a lovely little finish from a high pressure 1-on-1 situation, aka the through and through, late on in the game. That was a bit of a let off though. We can't play that poorly week in, week out and expect to romp the league the way we're all expecting to romp it. But as it stands, that does put us 9 points clear. And now we head to both Hayes and Yeading for a 3-way match, presumably. Couple of changes for the big triple threat match. Then McClelland comes back into the team because he's not suspended anymore, so he's our best defender. Of course, he comes back into the team, and McGuinness comes in place of Dodds because it would be unfair not to give him a start after he scored such a lovely goal towards the end of that last game. Like I always said, you don't just have to aim for the head with McGuinness. You can put it anywhere, and there's a good chance he's going to go and score. So he's that kind of striker, can score any kind of goal. So he's back into the team. Where are Hayes and Yeading in the league? They're down in 14th place. So theoretically, should be fairly comfortable with 30 points ahead of this lot after 19 games. So we should give them an absolute whooping. And here is McGuinness. Look at that, using his pace. He's known for his pace. And very nearly does it again. And there was one more change. We changed the midfielder. We brought Warrington back in as well. I knew there was more I'd fiddled with. This is what happens when I go to the toilet between matches and can't remember what I've done. One day I'll learn to do stuff like playing the in-betweeny bits, going to the toilet, making coffee before I make all the decisions, because then I don't sit back at the desk and think, what have I done? Looks like just 2 changes. We'll go with that. Makes me look like a fool. I don't want to look like a fool. We're not winning yet in this game. I'm quite tempted to start going attacking straight away because we look so much better than them. Logan with the free kick though. McClelland, I did say he's dangerous from these set pieces, and he showed it again there. McGuinness, and another aerial threat. We've got a lot of aerial threat from set pieces. Both McGuinness and McClelland very dangerous, and Logan can hit a nice set piece as well. And there is McClelland, and it's just over from the free kick from Logan, and that is looking like a pretty useful route towards a goal. If we can get a few more free kicks around that area or corners, McClelland is looking very dangerous in the air, as he always does. But as we drift towards half time, once again we're struggling for goals, and this is becoming a little bit of a theme. We're going to passionately say we've been the best team here. We're going to go positive right at the start of the second half and try and just exert our dominance on the game a little bit. We are clearly the better team, but we're not actually showing it. We're struggling. Ever since Hector Ingram left, we are struggling for. And to be honest, before he left, this season, we've struggled to get a strike partnership going and get consistent goals from anywhere. There is Morton, and that's a 9th goal for him. I mean, I say we've struggled. We've got a lot of players around 8, 9 goals after 20 games. And because I'm rotating them around so much, not many of them have played more than about 12 games. So they are all scoring at a perfectly acceptable level. I think what I mean when I say we're struggling for goals is we don't have a Hector Ingram or a Connor Carty or a Mata this season. So because we've been used to having that kind of striker, it feels like nobody's scoring goals consistently, when in actual fact, all 4 of the strikers that we've got have got very healthy goal per game ratios. Right, this is where we would have liked to have Lee on the bench again. This is 2 games in a row I'd have liked to have brought him on. We probably need to start putting him on the bench because wide areas, always like to make some changes there. Kiezu, why have we got 3 right backs on the bench? 3 right backs, a central midfielder and 2 strikers. Well, I guess we have to take our right back off then. I mean, there's some substitute logic for you. We're going to bring Dodds on to play with Morton again. Oh my word. Right, I'm going to drop back just to not stand. Oh, almost called it standard. Look at me not knowing the fancy new words. We're going to go balanced. It did used to be called standard, didn't it? I'm not going insane. Longalo plays it forward, looking for Morton. It was absolutely nowhere near him. We had nobody in that area of the pitch. And I think that's probably the issue with having 2 strikers both on an attacking instruction, whereas before we'd have McGuinness dropping back into that little gap and picking the ball up in those situations. These 2 both staying very far forward. And you can see the size of the gap between the midfield and the attack. And that's probably not ideal. Jones now, ball over the top, looking for Dodds. Dodds is through on goal. It's a lovely last-ditch challenge from the Hayes or maybe Yeading defender who got in there, and we are now looking for our final change, and it's going to be Jarvis, and I'm just trying to decide where it's not. I think I'm going to stick Morton out on the wing, probably the left wing. Let's stick him out on the left wing, get Jarvis on. Jarvis also likes to be an advanced forward, and just, you know what? get creative. For the last 10 minutes, let's have some creativity. Let's see if one of these two strikers, the new strikers onto the pitch, let's see if one of them can grab a goal for us. It's not, I mean, I don't remember the last time we looked that much like a normal team. Obviously, we are still grinding out results, which is why we're still doing very well in the league, but they were two pretty unusual results when you look back over the run of form that we've been in. I guess the mark of a good team is winning even when you don't play very well. Next episode, we are going to get through a whole bunch of matches again. We're probably going to look to come back sometime in December and get the rest of this month, get all these games out of the way, maybe even the bulk of them, and come back in January for another Bishop's Cleeve. We'll figure that out and hopefully be one step closer to yet another promotion and the National League. The National League is where it's at. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.